Okay, so we're going up the ladder. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is the view. Oh my gosh.
Terrifying.
This is the view from on top of the ladder. And so then on this side of the store, it's like nothing happened except there's no ceiling tiles. And then on this side of the store, yeah.
Probably my favorite thing, and it's not a specific memory. In a grocery store, people come in all the time, and people from all walks of life, and you build relationships with people. And when you're around for as long as we were, it was like, generations of families who you build relationships with and you see just on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately that was one of the most special things. And same with our team members,
People.
Yeah, it's the people. And that's the biggest tragedy of losing the store, is losing that place where community happened.
This whole part of the aisle is completely crashed into the other part. So I'm, probably halfway down this aisle, and this is what the carnage that it looks like. This is what it is. And there's a ceiling tile hanging down.
Okay, so what ended our store was February 27th, 2020 at, 1 a.m.
Yeah, nearly 1 a.m.
approximately. The rock cliff that was behind the store came down.
I got a call from Chicago about a water flood, right? And so, myself, I'm like, and we just had problems with the sprinkler alarm, right? So the alarm was just kind of acting up. So when the water alarm went off and they called me from Chicago, I really wasn't that concerned. I'm like, I'll go in there and go check it out or whatever. But then within a minute later, somebody calls, say, oh my gosh, the store, you need to come down here. And I came in there, I'm like, oh my gosh. There was just, like I said, the windows are blown out. And then I'm like, this is not good. I mean, you're still in disbelief. When we opened the door and there was like, about a foot of water, maybe a foot and a half of water in there everywhere. And there wasn't, the sprinklers didn't go off. It busted the pipe. So the pipe was broken in the back. So yeah, I didn't expect the whole side of the building to collapse like that. The whole rock wall come down. Nobody did.
It's 1 a.m. I get a phone call from Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Because somehow they called him. Apparently, the rockslide had broken the water pipes in the store, and so the building was flooding, and the sprinkler alarm was going off, and that was hooked electronically to the fire department. So the fire department responded, and also the alarm company called Joe,
Mm-hmm.
and told me that there'd been a landslide, and so I drove in, and the last thing he said was, sounds like it's pretty bad. So I get there, and there's all the emergency trucks and the lights flashing, and by then the fire department had managed to get the side door on Stedman Street open, and all this water was flowing out of the door. And floating out with the water were all these things like paper towels and diapers, and any light stuff that would float was floating out with it. It was like a river of non-food grocery products, actually. And, obviously there was no fire because there was lots of water in there. And so they they asked if I could figure out how to turn off the water, and so I went in through the front door, and I was going to go to the back room, but I couldn't get there the normal way because all the dairy and frozen cases that were on the back wall had all been shoved, and they were blocking the entryways into the back room. So we had to take a different route in there, and we got the water shut off. The main was right inside along the Stedman Street side.
This case was approximately, 20 feet or more the other direction. Yeah, so, it's blocking a doorway that was right here, as well as so if we look at, I'm just going to use my finger, that case, those two doors right there, that used to be a 4-foot section of shelving. This case is actually, and that shelving unit, I'm going to turn you this way for a second, got shoved through the wall. So you can see it got shoved through the wall, and the shelving unit is actually, and part of the case is in the back room. Okay, so, there's lots of noise. Okay, so now we're looking down. I'd be looking down towards the orange juice case, down this aisle at the back of the store. And so all of the products, or not all of them, but a lot of the products that were in the milk case got thrown out, and this whole floor was covered in milk and creamer and yogurt and all sorts of wonderful things. And you can see that we were able to clear this part up, but then we got, once we got into kind of the danger zone, there's still a bunch of products there. And then we can look at the ceiling and we can see the damage, and I'll just scroll in a little bit. So, I can kind of see our orange juice case shoved. I can see boxes that were in the meat department shoved up, and then we can actually see the sky coming down through here.
Tons of rock.
2 million or over 2 million
Anyway,
tons or something.
All this rock came down on the store, and it landed on that side of the store where our meat department was, and our deli department, and up above that was our main office, and our lunchroom, and in my office. Mm-hmm. We were really fortunate that it happened at 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. Because if the store had been open at that time, we would have had multiple fatalities, because we would have had a couple people in the meat department. We would have had at least one person upstairs in the office, a couple people in the deli.
And the shipping department, a couple of people.
A couple people in the shipping department. And those were all under rock when this stuff came down. And it hit the building so hard on that side of the building that it knocked all the meat cases and the dry shelving aisles on aisle 1, 2, and 3. It shoved them all to the center of the store. So they were all pancaked in the center of the store. So any customers that had been shopping in half the store would have been crushed.
And then there would have been injuries to anybody else who would have been in the building, because that force of air, it blew out windows. It blew out a window at the front of the store. It blew out a window all the way across on the liquor side, on the Stedman Street side of the store. So there would have been, it would have been.
And that was just from the air pressure.
That was just from the air pressure.
Rocks hitting the side of the building.
Yeah.
And then the beams that held up the roof were slammed really hard, and a lot of those came loose from the structures holding the roof up. And so the whole building was actually leaning towards Stedman Street.
Yeah, they were afraid that the actual building was going to collapse into the street. And so So I think on the site, the building got condemned on site, and then Don Loffman, who had been the general contractor that my dad had worked with on multiple projects I had worked with for the big remodel, he came down immediately and, did work to help to do the best he could to help to stabilize the building and get it into place.
And later, after our insurance company said, well, we don't think you're covered because there's an exemption in your insurance policy for land movement. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I guess that would be considered land movement if the whole cliff comes down on you. And I had a funny thought. I thought, if it had been a fire, we would have been covered. And I thought, well, too late for that. I got there and the fire department was there and the store was flooded. So there's no way we could get fire insurance coverage. That's
too late to burn it down.
That's kind of the way I think, It was like, oh, that'd be a funny thought. But anyway, that was one of the humorous things I took away.
This is the destruction. Yeah, so they completely removed, I'll get up and walk and show you guys what it looks like. So they removed everything from, let's see here, it's wet on the floor. The floor is covered with water. This right here, this used to be the doorway that went into the back of the room, into the back room where the stairs were that led up to the offices and the bathrooms that were upstairs. Those are refrigeration cases up on the rubble. Those cases were freezers, I think, and those were shoved about 25 feet across the back of the store. And they determined that those cases were no longer good or usable. There's the big wall. It's not a very nice wall. And so this beam right here, this is what they installed to support the building, as well as you can see this metal, I don't even know what to call that. This metal rope. What's that called, Deborah? And they've attached that into one of the posts to help to support the building. That's now what's supporting the building and what is making it safe. So I just wanted to let you guys see what it looks like, what we're dealing with. And now marble construction is all done with the work that they're doing, and we are just now waiting to get actual numbers and to determine the status of the building, and to know kind of what the future holds for what this space was. So
the most emotional thing for me about the whole rock slide was all the people who offered help and assistance and concern. We got so much help from the community. Like here in the plaza, they gave us a space for 2 months, and we used it to sell off some of the inventory we salvaged out of the building. The Eichner family gave us a warehouse to use for the stuff we got out of the store. Tyler Equipment Rental let us use forklifts and generators. Our suppliers all came in, took back and gave us credit for all of their products, and they helped transport a lot of the stuff we got out of the store. Alaska Marine Line helped us remove all the frozen food and stored it for us in their containers, kept them frozen until A&P. A&P stepped forward and offered to buy everything we could salvage out of our store. Mm-hmm. And until we overwhelmed them. We had so much. There was a lot of inventory in that store, and they took literally as much as they could. And at some point, we started bringing it to the plaza and selling it.
Yeah, well, I have a story about that.
No,
but we don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the response from the community and our suppliers, people that we had done business with, it was incredible, and it was just wildly overwhelming, and emotional, and really incredible. And I think the next day after the landslide, ended up having to let go this team of people that, I had spent so many years building and creating and developing, and
Yeah, well, and actually many of them helped us salvage the inventory.
yeah.
They stuck around and helped
Yep.
unload stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And there was we had a big, I think Tiffany Cook organized a community rally for us a couple of days after it happened. And we utilized that opportunity to help to when we gave away all of the produce that we had in the store, because, all the produce, like the store was like, I don't know, it was like 30 degrees. It wasn't frozen, but it was really cold in there. We had a whole supermarket full of merchandise. Some of it was under rocks. Some of it was crushed like pancakes between aisles, and other stuff was not touched at all. Like, if you went into one part of the store and it was like nothing had happened other than a couple of bottles had fallen off the shelf and landed on the ground. And then you go and you walk around the corner and it's just like everything is under rocks, and like there was a massive explosion. And, the majority of our produce was in great condition. And so the day of the community rally, yeah, we with the help of a lot of our team members, just loaded up shopping carts.
And rolled it out to the parking lot and gave it away. We did the same thing with frozen food, actually.
Not all the frozen food, though. That had been sitting for a long time. I was really concerned about food safety. I was like, yes, I know the store is cold, but we can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that this is safe. And I was really concerned about that. But yeah, we were. So, and then, a lot of my team members, the community was phenomenal in stepping forward and, trying to find jobs.
I had a job offer from Safeway within probably a few hours, to be honest with you. A&P, same thing as, Robert over there says, hey, if you want a job. But, for me, you cut meat for somewhere for so long, you're with a family, and then, not going to be the same. So I had like 3 different things that I wanted to do. And one of them was work for the city, and then I got a job at the city, and that's where I'm at now. So
anybody who wanted a job had a job basically immediately. And it was just really wonderful. And then just a few weeks later, COVID-19 started to really make the rounds. We'd been hearing grumblings of it. We'd been hearing these little whispers. And the first thing that, it was like there was a wild and crazy run across the whole United States on toilet paper. And we had moved into the mall. We were in the mall for just a little while, and Judy Zengi was like, you guys can use this space for anything you want to. And we're like, okay. She's like, you can sell stuff out of here. And we're like, well, I don't want to really sell anything, I don't think. But then I started seeing on Facebook that people they couldn't find toilet paper anywhere, and there was a shortage on paper towels and, wipes and things like that. And we had a whole store full, and I don't know if we haven't even talked about my dad's philosophy on how he bought groceries to sell out of the store. That's just a whole nother conversation completely. But he liked to buy in bulk at a low price so that he could pass that low savings on to other people. Especially, they were really good about doing that with paper products like toilet paper. So we had pallets worth of paper products inside of our store building that was not safe for people to enter, that we couldn't sell from there. And so I was like, well, there's a need. we can fill this need. And so we still had a few people on the payroll, and so we hauled all of the paper products that we could get to. A lot of it was in the back room. We couldn't easily get to the ones that was on the sales floor. It was not safe to get to those. We did eventually do that. I wasn't looking apparently when they did that, but
they were on top of the frozen food cases. They're up there.
Deborah,
so we got a lot of it.
Yeah, we got a lot of it out, and then and we brought it to our little guy market at the mall, and we had a toilet paper and paper towel sale, just there, and that was what it was, and then it was, oh well, there's a need for this, and there's a need for that, and there's a shortage on flour, and there's this, and so we just so we opened up the little guy market, and we had all those staples, and as well as, what other products we brought there, and we set up shop. And it was called the Little Guy Market. My dad's cousin is Guy Tatsuda, who grew up here. And then at Diaz Cafe, they have the Little Guy, which is, what is the Little Guy, Dad?
Sweet and sour pork on rice.
And you can order a hamburger, and instead of fries, you can get the Little Guy.
Yeah, and they call it Little Guy because when he was little, he used to always want that instead of French fries. So they started doing it and named it after him. It's called the Little Guy. I mentioned earlier that the insurance company said there was an exemption on our policy for land movement. And, it made sense to me because in my mind it was land movement. So I started Googling bankruptcy because I thought, well, we owe the bank a lot of money. We just spent $3 million redoing our whole entire store, and we still owed the bank like over $2 million.
Yeah, we owed the bank $2.1 million, and we had about $400,000 in outstanding payables.
Yeah. In the grocery store, it's all cash flow. So if you're doing $100,000 a week in sales, then you pay for that. You're about 3 weeks out, so you got easily $300,000 just from cash flow.
Yeah.
And so suddenly your cash flow stops abruptly. So now all these bills start coming due, and plus we owed the bank. So I was Googling bankruptcy just to see, well, do I get to keep anything? And I found out that, if you have any retirement accounts, like your Social Security, your 401k, your IRA, those are all protected from bankruptcy. Plus you get equity in your house of like $70,000. Of course, I only own half my house because my wife has the other half. So I'm thinking about, well, we might be able to keep the house, So thinking that might be the end result, because the insurance company didn't sound like they were going to pay, after 5 weeks, they came back to us and said, well, we're not sure we can defend the exemption, and we can't send anyone down there because of COVID, so we're going to pay. And I tell you, a life-changing event. Probably one of the few really good things because it happened because of COVID, at least for us. Yeah. So that they decided to pay, and I want to give a shout out to Alaska National Insurance, because I believe they were looking for reasons to pay rather than reasons not to pay. So I have to, and I was told by Jack Davies at Davies Berry, he said they're a good company. He told us this when we were giving away the produce before we knew this, but he said they're a really good insurance company. And I remember him telling me that, because at the point I didn't think we were going to get anything.
Yeah, he spent 5 weeks believing that, or almost 6 weeks, he became an expert in bankruptcy, and I was having every idea under the sun for how we were not going to be going bankrupt. And And so, yeah. And then when we had that phone call with the adjuster, and he's, and he was like, okay, well, we've come to a determination.
Yeah.
And you're preparing yourself for
They didn't,
like
he didn't
them.
say what it was.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so you're preparing yourself to be told, we've decided that we're not going to cover your loss, and that's not what he said.
Yeah, and they were really good company to work with as we worked up our claim, as we tried to value it, and they were very accommodating.
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories about how people having to give them inventories of every little item, and luckily though we had an accounting firm through our wholesaler that actually had all that information. It was readily available actually. And the insurance company just took their word for it and took our financials and calculated it out and paid us,
Yeah.
So we felt that we came out obviously a lot better than we thought. And not enough to go back in the business, unfortunately.
Not once all was said and done. Tatsuda's was just, it's more than us. It was a loss. It was like tremendous loss to us. And I'm still like processing that grief and everything. But it was a massive loss to the community. It was a massive loss to our customers. And I don't think that we knew how much our store meant to other people until it was gone. And then just all of the support and the kindness and the love and everything that has been extended to us since then. There's no words.
Yeah. And I think Catherine is probably taking this the hardest because she had worked so hard to create this beautiful store. I mean, it was a really beautiful facility, and she had created a culture inside it that was really beautiful and unique. And that end of town was being really well served by our store, and now those people have to go somewhere else. They have to take the bus. I mean, we had a lot of walk-in traffic down there also, and now they have to take the bus or get a ride or go out to the other stores, and the culture isn't the same in those other stores by any means. And I think our store was very well stocked and very well run, and so it's like a big hole. And I'm not sure what people are going to do.
We're hopeful. So where the property is up for sale, and I'm hopeful that there will be an organization that comes in and is able to do something that will be of service to the community, similar to how we were doing it, if not better. That's my dream. Right, Dad?
It goes all the way back to my grandfather, Jimmy. And these stories come from customers. Mm-hmm. I told the story, in 1995, I was like the IGA Retailer of the Year. And at the IGA convention, I gave a speech. And the story I told was there was a man who worked at the spruce mill in Ketchikan. And back then, this was in the old days, the mill would be shut down for months at a time, and he'd be unemployed. And so he'd go to Jimmy's grocery, and they still let him charge even though he couldn't pay. And then he'd get home and there'd be money in his bag. They'd be $5 bills or $10 bills. And, you know, it would also be charged to him. But he was telling me the story and because he hadn't asked for the money, but they knew he didn't have any. And he had tears in his eyes. Makes me tear up too. But that was my grandfather. And that's the kind of thing we've been doing for 100 years in Ketchikan. The saddest thing is that we're not there anymore, and we're not providing service to that end of town. And it was really great service. It wasn't just a grocery store. It was a lot more than that. And I think that's what we miss the most.
Yeah, taking care of people.
Now it's Ketchikan's turn to take care of you.
And they've been doing a great job.
Yeah, and they always have. They always have.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Ketchikan. That's why we live here, and that's why we are still here, and that's why we're so lucky to live here. It really is a great place.